Hi, so this week we're going to talk about a couple of different big topics, mainly so that we can spend more time on other topics later in the semester. So, this week, the first topic I want you to think about and that we'll talk about is the United States as a world power. Now, those of us who've grown up in the 20th and 21st centuries have always kind of experienced the United States as a world power. Ever since World War II, the U.S. was this great respected nation and kind of a leader of the free world, if you will. But it wasn't always like that. Coming out of the American Civil War, the United States wasn't really all that well respected. We were kind of this country over there, and it was nice to sell us their stuff. And we had some good raw materials, but we weren't really a power. We weren't really anybody to worry about or pay that much attention to when it comes to the global scene, when it comes to other countries. Um, as we industrialize in the late 19th century, in the late 1800s, that starts to change. People start to pay a little more attention to us. And then it's really not until the very end of the 19th century that the other nations start to think of us as, we need to pay attention to what's going on over there. Maybe we should be ready for the United States in case there's a conflict or in case there's some tension between us. And that really changes a lot in this very short window that we're going to talk about today. Now, the United States is going to get on the world scene in 1898 in a big way, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to give you the reasons that we really shift from looking just domestically to really thinking about the world scene and looking at the world as a whole. Now, think about the fact that by the late 19th century, by the late 1800s, the United States is out of the Civil War. We're out of Reconstruction. We've industrialized, right? And there are problems with all of those. We know that. We still face the troubles that the failure of Reconstruction brought, the mass industrialization has brought. But it really gives the opportunity of the United States to shift its attention now that it's kind of moved past these big problematic things. And there are a number of reasons, five in fact, that the United States shifts towards a broader international role at the end of the century. So, one theory about this is the frontier thesis. Now, this frontier thesis has kind of been debunked, but the idea that it motivated people is still there. When we think about the American West and those topics that we've talked about in the past about it over the last few weeks, think about that expansion of the West and the idea that the frontier has really disappeared in these late 1800s, especially after that Homestead Act in the 1860s. As more and more people come and settle the American West, and we've looked at images of that, and your book talks about that, they kind of fill in the United States. Well, what has traditionally been available for Americans is this idea of if it's crowded here, we can go further west, right? Think of the original 13 colonies, and then they cross that Appalachian mountain chain and they start heading west, and then they cross the rivers and they go further west, and then they develop California for the mining, and then they come east from there. And they slowly fill in those middle states, especially after that Homestead Act and that great settlement by farmers and ranchers of the Midwest. And so that idea of, especially once what they called the Indian problem, right, where Native Americans were controlled, again, a problematic thing, but something that occurred. Once that was there was really no clear line any longer of a frontier. After 1890, that 1890 census, there's really no clear line of a frontier. And that, makes some Americans, especially the Americans in the administration, right, the presidents and the Congress and things like that, start to look outward. Business people as well, right, start to look outward. Okay, well, if this isn't territory that we can take over anymore, if there's not this endless frontier for us to worry about or take, opportunity to grow and more resources to take, then where should we go? Where should we look? So that ending of the frontier, kind of that declaration of the end of the frontier by 1890, which is the same year as Wounded Knee, which your textbook talks about. But that 1890 census is like, no, it's over. The frontier is done. And so that really makes a shift of mindset. Okay. A second reason is a fear of Europeans. Right? There's a real competition with Europe for the rest of the world. The rest of the European powers have been colonizing the world for decades now. Right? The British are doing it starting in the 1840s. The Opium Wars in China, where the British literally got the leaders in China addicted to opium so that they could control trade with China. All sorts of things. All of Africa, the continent of Africa, had been physically dominated by the European powers, the Dutch, the Germans, the French, the British, everybody, the Italians. All of the European powers had carved up the continent of Africa and taken control. That's why even today, so many African countries, they speak French, or they speak Dutch, or they speak German, or they speak English. And it's because of those colonial dominations. And they were doing it for industrialization, in part. This idea of gaining control of these raw resources and the labor of those nations to help foster their own trade. Well, the United States starts looking at this once we're out of Reconstruction and we're industrializing, saying, wait a minute. The Europeans have carved up all this land, and they're carving up more, and we're going to be left out if we don't do something about it. They're going to have all this territory and all these resources, and our frontier is we're running out of space. So now what do? So the United States has that in their mind, that they're going to be left out of the carving up of the rest of the world. A third point is this idea of social Darwinism. Right? You know what Darwinism is, right? The survival of the fittest. Social Darwinism is very similar. It's this idea of survival of the fittest. But in this context, it's the survival of the strongest nation. Right? The strongest nations will survive. The nations that adapt the most will survive. And then a second part of that is the idea that it's the duty of the civilized to uplift all those other nations, right? And by civilized, quite often the Americans and Europeans meant Christian, meant democratic or capitalist, and following that same path that white America was following at the time. So this idea of helping them out, right? I'm out of room. Let's see if I can pause, and then I'll there, wasn't that magic? All right. Yeah, it's working. Woohoo. All right. So the fourth one is manifest destiny, this old idea of it's American destiny, handed down from God to spread our ideas, spread our knowledge, and across the world, just as this theory of manifest destiny justified that expansion to the American West that is talked about in the first half of this class. It's also used to justify the spread of American ideas around the world and American power around the world. And then the fifth reason, and the one I bet you guys can guess the most in our somewhat cynical age, the fifth reason is capitalism. Remember, we've industrialized. Now we need markets. We need people to buy our stuff, right? So you have to spread around the world. You have to spread your influence and spread your power and help industrialize around the world. Okay? So those are the reasons that the United States began pushing on the international scene and doing more and more power. Okay. The next video that I do, I'm going to have some images that I'm going to include with it because we're going to talk about the Spanish-American War. But I'll stop for now and then we'll do another video with a few images. All right.